Hey guys, welcome back. It's Shelby and today we are going to be making little Christmas trees out of twine. So this is actually super easy craft and I got the idea because I was walking through Target and I saw this, which is like a little wooden Christmas tree and it's black, which I think is actually going to work for another craft, but I want to use it for this one first. But basically it's like the perfect Christmas tree shape. So I'm going to steal it as a mold. You could also make this out of styrofoam cones or just anything you have that's a cone shape. This craft would work too. But I will link everything I use down in the description below along with my socials if you want to make your own twine trees at home. Next up, you're going to need twine, of course. Some Elmer's glue. I have a big jug. A foam brush, some saran wrap, which I have off to the side, and probably a pair of scissors. And who knows, later on we might even throw in some adhesive gems just for added sparkle. But I'll link everything you need down in the description below. And let's get going. The first thing you want to do is prep your tree. Because I want to use this tree for other things, I need to protect it from the glue because otherwise I'm just gluing the twine onto it and not actually using it as a mold. So just a little bit of saran wrap wrapped around it ought to take care of that. So I'm going to try and keep the shape pretty good, but saran wrap is very thin. So it shouldn't mess it up too bad. So go ahead and wind your saran wrap around whatever it is you're using for a mold so that the twine will actually come off of it rather than being glued to it. And then we will pour out our glue and begin crafting our tree. So we're gonna get our glue. And I'm using a paper plate, but just give yourself a decent amount to work with. You're going to need to be using a foam brush with this. So I suggest pouring it out rather than trying to like use your little thing and glue it on every time. It's just gonna be easier. Next up, go ahead and make a loop in your twine. You could use a little slip knot, that'll work just fine. Just a tiny little one, a little like so. This is just going to fasten the twine to the top of your tree and just make it a lot easier to work with. At this point, I like to dip mine in the glue because why not give yourself a head start? And we're just gonna loop it right over the top of the tree, bring it down as far as you can. And then we're just gonna start wrapping it a couple times like this. Like I said, super easy craft. And you can go back and forth on the wrapping. Actually, it doesn't all need to be in the same direction. It can definitely be different directions. You can go down the tree and then back up the tree again. And then you get a cool little cross pattern. Some people, I know when they do this, kind of add the glue as they go. Some tie knots as they go. Because I'm adding so much glue at the end, I don't really see a whole ton of benefit of gluing it as I go because it's gonna get glued down, like it's not an issue. So mainly you just wanna make sure that you get all the wrapping the way you want it. You do want a fair amount of twine on here. You want it to look like a fully done tree. Otherwise it's just gonna kind of like look super naked. And if there's not enough twine wrapped around it, there's not a whole ton for the glue to hold onto. It does kind of keep it in its shape, but really it keeps it in its shape based on like how much of the other twine it glues each piece to, not necessarily just keeping the twine in its own shape for the sake of keeping it in the shape, if that makes any sense at all. So I've wound a bunch of cord horizontally here and I'm just going down across it in an X like that. And that the glue is going to glue this piece to all of them and kind of keep them in place. So that's a good thing to do up the other side. I'm just gonna do the same thing, wind it around once at the base and then go up on the diagonal just to kind of lock it all in. I want a little bit more coverage up at the top, so I'm going to wind around there. And then we do want to tie it off at the end. So I'm going to cut myself here. So as you're winding it down, just kind of keep in mind where the end of your twine is and kind of loop your finger through and just put it through the loop. Just like that, just kind of making a little half knot there. And then just pull it down to the bottom of the tree. This is plenty to keep it glued in there. You can see now it's just not wound around there and unwinding. It's just looped through there once, and that's enough to hold it. Bring all of your twine as far down the tree as you can. Just like that. Not worried about that. That little wing right there. Does that even show up on camera? That little wing right there. Yeah. Not worried about that. Can cut it off later. So just go ahead and leave the tie in there. Now we're gonna go in with our glue, best part ever, and really go ahead and get your brush just completely saturated with the glue. and just really put it on there. If you want, you could even roll your tree in the plate, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit less messy than that. So I'm just gonna be like really piling the glue on with my foam brush. It's really important to make sure that you saturate it. When you use Elmer's glue, it dries translucent or clear anyway. So don't really worry about that. You're not gonna see it so much. And anything you do see is just gonna look translucent and clear and not be a big deal. The important thing is to get it really saturated in the twine, because twine kind of sucks up moisture and is very like porous as a string, if that makes sense. So you really got to pack it on there and then just kind of brush it off and make sure that you get all of the little fibers, and that's what's going to help it kind of glue to itself. It's got to saturate the twine so that it can get all the little fibers glued to their neighbors and get them on there. I poured a crazy amount of glue and I'm actually using most of it. So the really important part is the top of the tree right here. All the exposed nooks and crannies. If you see any kind of naked spots, go in there and fill them full of glue. And then the base of the tree is really important. So go ahead and scoop the last of your glue up for that, and just kind of go in and just press a very definitive layer on the bottom layer of the twine, just like the last couple loops down there, because you really need those to hold their shape. That's what's gonna hold this when it's on the table. It's what's gonna hold it upright. It's gonna keep the weight. Not that this weighs a lot, but you definitely want those last like bottom 5 wraparounds or so to really kind of to know what they're doing, to hold the weight, to hold the glue, to be firmly attached to each other. That's really important. So this is what the tree looks like before we set it out to dry. The twine, I don't know if you can see it, it's got these little fibers hanging off of it everywhere. So I think it's gonna look really great once the glue kind of soaks in and turns translucent when it dries. You're not gonna see that, you're just gonna see the twine itself. I can actually cut off this little piece here now if I want. It's not really serving its purpose anymore. So we'll do that and just kind of clean everything up. This will take a while to dry. This will take at least several hours, maybe overnight. Elmer's glue does dry pretty quickly usually, but we used a lot of it. It's really thick in there. It's up against a plastic sheet, and it's winter, so things just dry slower. They do. So if you're able to leave it out overnight, I do suggest that. And we will check back in on this tree when it's dry and see what we're left with. All right, next day check-in. I did let it dry overnight, and this is what we're looking at. So I'm gonna unwrap the plastic first. Little mold just fell right out, which is perfect. And this is still a cone, so cute little burlap tree cone. You could also use this to make like a fake ice cream cone if you wanted to like do something like that, but we're making trees today. So it's gonna stand up just like that. We've got some adhesive gems to decorate it with, and some hot glue off to the side because the adhesive gems isn't really gonna stick to this. There's not much to stick to. But you can pull off a little bit of the glue that's just hanging out there. And then I'll do a close-up at the end, but you can kind of see the different fibers hanging off the tree. It's really cool looking. I like it a lot. It's really nice. So my hot glue gun's heating up. I'm gonna choose a couple different colors. I think probably red and green. There we go. And basically what I'm gonna do is just do a drop of hot glue wherever I want a gem, very, very small amount. Pull one off, or 3, and stick it on the glue. And it's gonna go just like that. So we're gonna add a couple dots at a time just for the sake of convenience. And I'm not putting these in a pattern, they're just kind of going all over the tree. So that is 4 of them. I want to remember where I put them. That's gonna be very important. I think I made my strings of gems too long. I'm not gonna be able to pull these all off. Oh no, I lost the last one. What did I do with it? There it is. It's already just a little bit of glamour, a little bit of pop. I don't think I'm gonna put all the red ones that I pulled off on here. Just a couple more, maybe like 5 more. Okay, I lied, 6. We're doing green ones too, so we don't need a ton. And due to the nature of the tree being made out of twine, you just don't necessarily want it completely blinged up. Like a little bit for a pop looks nice, I think. But if you just have like so many gems all over it, it looks super bedazzled. I feel like that kind of looks a little bit disjointed with the very like homespun kind of natural look of the twine itself. So just a couple gems where it just looks like a pop, I really think looks nice, but I wouldn't necessarily do too much more than that myself personally. Did a little bit more glue just here and there, make it festive. I think red and green was a good call. I don't want too many colors on here because again, that would kind of just clash with the twine, or at least just look like it doesn't belong. But it definitely needs at least 2 of them, and red and green are just very traditional Christmas colors, obviously. So I think they're a good call, but you could do any colors you want to match your decor. I think like a purple and a blue would be nice, or maybe like a pink and purple. You could throw some yellow in there. Yellow is always actually a really beautiful color to decorate with. Here we go. So this is cute as it is, right? But what would a tree be without some sort of sparkle on top? So we're gonna get some larger adhesive gems, not massive because it's a small tree. I'm gonna use 2 of them, just like this. And even though the backing is on there, I'm just gonna put a little tiny dollop of hot glue, glue them together so that they sparkle from both sides. So I'm just gluing the 2 flat backs together so that we have a nice round gem that sparkles on both sides. And then the very top of the tree where there's a hole, I'm gonna fill that full of a little bit of hot glue, just kind of around the outsides, build myself a little cradle in there. And we're going to top our tree with that. Just like that. This is a beautiful piece to put on your mantle or bookshelf because it is a kind of neutral color predominantly. It's gonna blend into whatever decor you have, even if you've got like really sparkly glam decor aesthetic. It's got the little bit of gems on there, but it's a neutral background. Like the light's gonna reflect beautifully off of it. Or if you've got like more natural kind of, you know, shabby chic furnishings, this is gonna go right in there. I think it really is like a versatile piece. It's fun to make, it's easy to make, and it's a great crafting idea if you're doing like a holiday craft party, something like that. So it's something people can make and then pick up the next day, finish off at their leisure, or basically just however you want to do it. If you want to make a bunch of the trees beforehand, then everyone comes and decorates them. It's really fun for that too. So I'm gonna do some close-ups at the end. I hope you guys like this craft. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.